So before you can actually replace your starter, you're going to need to take your drive shaft off. You don't have to. I read in some forums of people saying you didn't need to do it, but if you don't have the room like I don't, take it off. I'll link in the description a video of a gentleman who does this whole starter replacement step by step much better than I ever could. So I'll post that below. And then another gentleman has a video of different sounds that you might hear for different problems that occur in starters. So you can watch those, but here are some things that I learned. So one thing I wanted to mention about loosening these bolts is if you loosen them with a ratchet, you can take this extender, depending on how well you can reach under here, and you can take these bolts off, especially the two bolts for the starter itself. Even with the drive shaft off, it's really hard to use just a normal ratchet in the space you have. So I found that with this setup here, I could hit basically every single bolt besides the ones on the heat shield and for the battery terminal coming back to the starter. When you're taking the drive shaft off, a good way to give yourself enough room, because it's hard to get out at once, push this up here. Push that side up, and then you can pull this side down, and then you can pull the whole thing through. This is the old starter here, and this is what it looks like with just the void with the two wires. So after successfully installing the new starter and connecting the wires, I reconnected the battery to the car and put in the key and turned over the engine, but the starter kept cranking even though it successfully started the car, but it kept cranking and cranking and grinding and grinding. And so I just turned the vehicle off and then tried starting it again, and this is what happened. So after doing some research online and looking at some forums, I found that these remanufactured starters it's not uncommon for them to be defective. So I found the first one that I bought was made in Mexico. The second one was made in Malaysia. And I have some pictures at the end of the video that I took because I thought it was interesting, because same box, same numbers, but there's some slight differences in the actual manufacturing of the starters. I don't know the engineering of it all, but I thought it was interesting, and if you want to check it out, you can. But I got the new starter, and I'm guessing it was the solenoid that was just stuck in the open position, and that's why it kept grinding. But as you can see here, the one on the right is the old one. And I was worried about people saying that you might strip your flywheel or grind that, and this is what mine looks like, so I'm pretty sure that's not ground down. But I got the new one installed, and let's find out. Oh yeah, and don't forget to put your heat shield back on either. Don't forget. This is the moment of truth. So in summary, if your battery and your alternator are putting out enough energy, it's most likely your starter. And based off of the second video I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that should help you figure out what the problem is specifically. Now, if you replaced your starter because that was the problem, and the starter you just replaced it with isn't working, return that starter and get a new one and try that. And most likely that will solve your problem. And that's from what I read online. That's what other people were saying as well. And now another alternative method is, if it's not starting, you can bang on the starter with like a hammer or the back end of a screwdriver or something, and I've seen videos of that working for people, but I'll just replace my starter, and I don't want to do that. So here was some of those pictures I was telling you about. This is the first starter from Mexico, and you see how the top is uniform with the hardware? And this, you can see in the top right, there's that nut and washer that kind of seem out of place. And then this next picture, you'll kind of see it doesn't even really make sense why it's there at all to begin with. And I might be missing something entirely, but it just seems strange that that would be there. And here's another picture. You can kind of just see there's some little differences, and I'm sure it's negligible, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. And here are some posts I found online that I thought were helpful. So if you want to pause these at all and read them and find them useful, well, there you go. And if not, well, I don't know why you're watching this video still, but if you are, thanks for watching, and hopefully you learned something, and have a good one. Cheers.